Hey guys, please like and subscribe for more great content.
During the time of Yahshua, only 3 Israelite tribes were in the land of Israel, and these tribes make up the house of Yehudah. The other 9 tribes were dispersed in 721 BCE by the Assyrians, and then they were colonized throughout Europe and Asia. However, the house of Yehudah has been in captivity since 606 BCE. They were the Israelites in the land of Israel during the rule of the 4 world empires of Daniel chapter 2 and 7. The house of Israel has not been through what the house of Yehudah has been through. Like Saul stated in Romans chapter 2 verses 9 and 10, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that does evil, of Yehudah first, and also of the Gentile. But glory, honor, and peace to every man that works good, to Yehudah first, and also to the Gentile. How did the house of Yehudah get into Africa? Luke chapter 21 verse 20 states, "And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies." This prophecy took place when the Romans invaded Jerusalem in 70 AD. Truly, it was the Romans who sold the house of Yehudah into Africa, and the house of Yehudah was sold to the Egyptians to work in the salt mines. This is documented in history by our brother Josephus in the works of Josephus, book 6, chapter 9, in paragraphs 2 and 3. It states, "As for the rest of the multitude above 17 years old, he put them in bonds and sent them to the Egyptian mines. And the number of those that were carried away captive during this whole war was collected to be 97,000. As was the number of those that perished during the whole siege was 1,100,000, or 1.1 million. Once Yehudah was sold into Africa, they migrated across the Sahara Desert and became the Ashanti, Igbos, Fante, and the Falasha Jews, and Bante and Bantu, just to name a few. Which house was prophesied to come on ships? Since the house of Israel has been dispersed, they have not been through the type of slavery that Yehudah has experienced. In fact, there is nothing scriptural or historical that proves that they were taken as slaves and sent on ships because they were colonized. Let's examine the below scripture and see which house this happened to. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 68 states, "And Yahweh shall bring you into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto you. You shall see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall redeem you." Well, the house of Israel did not come on ships, and through the precepts of the holy prophet Jeremiah told us who it would be that would experience this. "Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that you know not, neither you nor your fathers. And there you shall serve other gods day and night, where I will not show you favor. Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that it shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers." Jeremiah chapter 16, verses 13 through 15. Who was the you that Jeremiah was talking to in verse 13? Or who was in the land at this time? He prophesied this unto the house of Yehudah, because they were the Israelites in the land. Also, we see that it was the Israelites of Benjamin, Levi, and Yehudah that would experience being cast into a land that neither they nor their fathers knew. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moshe, and all the prophets knew about Egypt, Europe, and Asia, but none of them knew of America or ever touched her shores. So, the tribes of Benjamin, Levi, and Yehudah were the so-called Negroes that were brought as slaves on ships to the New World. In addition, the prophet Joel gave us more input. "And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Yes, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Yehuda and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Joel chapter 3, verses 3 through 6. History proves that the African sold our people for mere trinkets to the European Gentiles, for things like rum, ivory, and guns. Tyre and Sidon are known Phoenician cities, and their people were Hamites. It stated that they would sell the children of Yehuda and Jerusalem, Benjamin and Levi, to the Grecians, that they might remove them far from their borders. Again, nothing was mentioned about the house of Israel being sold as slaves. Joel prophesied that it would happen to only Yehuda and the children of Jerusalem. Truly, Yahweh loves the house of Israel, but they will be redeemed through Yehuda. Like Yeshua said in St. John chapter 4, verse 22, salvation is from Yehuda. And also, the prophet Zechariah stated in chapter 12, verse 7, Yahweh will save the tents of Yehuda first. So Yehuda receives everything first, including tribulation. Not only will Yehuda be saved first, but Yehuda returns to Jerusalem first as well, with the purpose of taking the city. And then the house of Israel will return to the land. This is why Yeshua stated in St. Matthew chapter 15 verse 24 that he was not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And at Pentecost in Acts chapter 2, you see Yehuda teaching the dispersed of Israel that came back to Jerusalem to keep the feast. So salvation is to Yehuda, and then Israel, and finally the nations. Remember, Yahweh divorced the house of Israel, but the house of Yehuda is still married unto Yah. According to the scripture, where did Yahweh disperse the house of Israel? In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 6. According to scripture, what countries will the house of Israel be regathered from? Let's read Isaiah chapter 66 verses 19 and 20. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pool, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal, and to Javan, and to the isles afar off, that have not heard of my fame, neither have seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahweh, out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in leaders, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, says Yahweh. As the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahweh. Tarshish is Spain. Pool is Foot, according to Josephus. Foot is the founder of ancient Libya. Lud is Lydia, more specifically Asia Minor. Tubal is Tobolsk in the Asian part of Russia, which is currently called Tyumen. Javan is Greece, and the isles afar off are the coast afar off. So, we can see that Yahweh is going to regather the house of Israel from lands that they migrated to, and America was not listed as one of them, because by the time the house of Israel is regathered, America will have been physically destroyed. Reference Jeremiah chapter 50 and 51 and Isaiah chapter 47. Let's examine another piece of scripture in Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 11 verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Adonai shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. Assyria was located in the Asia Minor in the Media-Persia area, and north of these lands, depending on the time period of their empire. But we know where Egypt is. Pathros was a part of Egypt. Cush is Ethiopia. Elam was south of the Assyrian Empire and near Iran or Persia. Shinar was in ancient Babylon or current Iraq. Hamath is in northern Syria and from the islands of the sea. According to the works of Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, Book 11, Chapter 5, Section 3, while the 10 tribes are beyond Euphrates till now, and are an immense multitude, and not to be estimated by numbers. Josephus was living during the 1st century ACE, and he stated that the 10 tribes, or house of Israel, was above the Euphrates River. So it is not possible for the 10 tribes to have been in the New World or America during the time some Israelites claim. Here is further scriptural documentation. James chapter 1 verse 1. James, a servant of Israel, and of the Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. This scripture proves that the house of Yehuda knew where the house of Israel was, even though they were not in the land of Israel. Furthermore, Acts chapter 2 proves this beyond a shadow of a doubt. Acts chapter 2 verses 7 through 14 and verse 22. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. Now, when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Parthians, and Medes, and Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and Cappadocia, and Pontus, and Asia, and Persia, and Pamphylia, in Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Greeks and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of Israel. And they were all amazed, and were in doubt, saying one to another, What mean this? And others mocking said, These men are full of new wine. But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, You men of Judea, and all you that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. First, Peter said, You men of Judea. Then he stated, And all you that dwell at Jerusalem. The other people that were dwelling at Jerusalem were those of the house of Israel from the 10 tribes. Verse 22 proves this, because Cephas goes on to say, You men of Israel, hear these words. Acts chapter 2 verse 22 states, You men of Israel, hear these words. Yahshua of Nazareth, a man approved of Israel among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which Israel did by him in the midst of you, as you yourselves also know. Seeing that the word had not went to any other nation at that time, it is no way for it to be anyone else other than the other tribes of Israel that had come to Jerusalem to keep Pentecost. And some of them heard and received the testimony of Yahshua. That's why 3,000 souls were baptized. So we see that there is no scriptural proof to the house of Israel coming to America in mass as a people. If they are here, they came on their own as individuals, or as individual families, free and not as slaves. It is not biblical and